Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Hello, Sixers, and welcome to episode 98 of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. Today is December 6th, 2021. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my reflective co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
So, this episode's a little different from the previous one, because we're not in the same room together. It's sad.
We're not.
But it's back to normal. Before we get started, though, we do want to remind you that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. Tonight, there probably won't be any spoilers, but we can't promise it. So if you want to risk it, go for it. There probably won't be any spoilers because tonight we are talking about Dragonsteel MiniCon 2021. Our last episode, we discussed aluminum foil hat theories with a live audience at the con. And This week, it's back to just the three of us. And we're going to discuss the things that we saw, who we met, what we enjoyed, etc., etc., etc.
Lots of geeking out.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of awesome.
That is definitely one word for it.
It was actually
Meanwhile, technically three.
Oh, it was kinda as a Kinna.
Oh, kinda, got it.
Yeah.
This is great radio programming. Meanwhile, for those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we do want to remind you it's possible for listeners to interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/Innkeepers Table.
As all the cool people do.
My apologies. I've been sick the past few days, so if I suddenly cut out, it's because I've muted my mic and I'm hacking up a lung.
Yeah, I want this on recorded line that Bill has put his body on the line for this show today. Because I am fairly certain on Saturday night I heard him literally cough up the left ventricle of his body, and so he has stomached that back down, and he is here for you.
Your grasp of anatomy amazes me.
It's great, isn't it?
The left ventricle of my body has been stomached.
Yes. It's not my fault you're a chondra.
Something like that. We do record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and take an active part in the discussion. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. Our show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. Pledging $1 or $2 even per episode really helps us out as we work to improve the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel. We've got an awesome community over there. You can talk about Cosmere stuff. You can talk about speculations. You can talk about your aluminum foil hat theories. You can talk about the latest show that you're watching, whether it's Wheel of Time or Wheel of Fortune. Or
you can show off your dog or cat picture or your bird picture. We have a pet.
Let's be real. That's the most active part of what people do.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a great community.
It is, and it's apparently, as we found out at this convention, it's a little bigger than we thought.
Well, the Discord's not,
know.
but
Yeah.
our listeners, we actually got to meet a lot of our listeners. It was really cool. But we'll dive into that. Actually, now's a good time to dive into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start. Like, I remember getting to the con.
Doomslug. Sorry, continue.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Plushies, and it's so cute and squishy and soft.
I just want to show the
I love
difference.
it.
So what they get is Doomslug plushies. What I got was a decal of the Ghost Bloods for my laptop.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, that's what you wanted, though.
yeah.
The thing about these Doomslug plushies, by the way, and yes, we are totally shilling for Brandon. We have received
I'm
absolutely
sorry,
no
what were
compensation.
episodes 1 through 97 about?
The This is merch. We're talking about merch right now.
Oh, okay.
All of the books can at least be gotten from the library. So, but one of the things that's cool about these Doomslug plushies, and a few people mentioned this, is all it really takes is a slit in the back, and you've got slippers.
I mean, as a sewist, I would say you want to add something stronger to the bottom because this will wear out fast if you wear it as a slipper.
I understand. That's not my point. Missing the point.
People were trying to get a hold of Kara Stewart and telling her that that's the next thing.
Oh, that was brought up during the what's coming up at Dragonsteel panel.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of panels, let's talk about panels. Did y'all get to go to any fun panels?
I went to the Sanderson Sisters one. That's the one I went to.
Who all was at that one?
I was up at front.
The Sanderson Sisters.
Yeah, it was his sister-in-law, his wife, and his actual sister, Jane, and then his sister-in-law
who was in the booth next to us, and we got to talk to her a little bit.
I know. I felt it was funny, like, because after that panel, I was like, "Oh, hi! I loved your panel, and stuff." And then we got to talk to her more, and I was like, I feel kind of silly that I didn't know who you were until now, but she's really nice.
Yeah, she was really nice.
She's got a cameo in one of the Alcatraz books. Apparently, there's a fashion designer or something like that, and that's what was her job a while before, was that she did fashion stuff, and so.
And now she's heading up the Lightweaver Foundation. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. Any other panels that you went to that you found interesting?
I went.
Is that the only panel you went to that you found interesting, Amy?
That's the only panel I can think of at
least two that you went to that you might find more interesting than that one.
Well, yes, but I thought we were talking about panels that we went to, not panels that we headed up.
Amy, I was being coy.
Sorry, I'm getting semantic on you. So I got to do the first panel. I don't know if it was the first panel of the day. I think it was the first slot because it was at 1.
Yeah,
so I did Cosmere 101, and that was kind of crazy. I was with Craig from the Legendarium podcast, and he kind of was the moderator. And I forget Marcy's last name. Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember her last name. I can look it up.
Anyway, yeah, but Marcy was super nice. She does a Facebook group, and she came in from
Atlanta.
Oh goodness, was it
Yes.
Atlanta? That's right. I was like Georgia.
Yeah, because she's been involved in DragonCon.
Yeah, she went to DragonCon, and apparently the panels here were bigger than DragonCon, which surprised me. I would have thought those ones would have been bigger.
Well, there are big ones and there are small ones, and she's been part of the small ones.
Small ones. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, so that was really fun, and I got to make my first ever slideshow for like over a decade, probably 2 decades. Yeah, it was super simple, but I kind of felt like I talked a lot more in that one. But I discussed like all the different planets and the worlds and talked very generally about the magic systems, and it was really fun. So that was my first ever panel. Was that one.
So
that's awesome.
I gotta ask this: how many people do you think were at those panels?
That one, they said it was about like 200 or 250.
Yeah, like
for 101. For
101, but 450 was bigger.
It's like 500 or something like that.
So
because people were standing for that one.
Yeah, was it about the same for the speculation panel that we did, Bill?
Yeah, it was about the same.
Okay, yeah. So, first of all, I'm not unfamiliar with being in front of a group. I had to do it back when I was president of the Nerd Club at BYU. But that only got to about 130-ish people at its max. And so, like, looking out and just seeing that sea of people, and it's just like, well... Be interesting.
Well, one of the coolest moments I thought, because Marcy moderated that last panel.
Yeah.
And she had several topics for us to discuss, and we talked about them for a while. And then about halfway through, we opened it up for questions. And there was one girl in a mist cloak who had sort of followed the rhythm and realized that we were getting ready. So she was at the microphone. And so Marcy just went ahead and tossed it to her. And as soon as she started talking, people just rushed the line behind the microphone. It was just like, people want to talk about their theories, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it was incredible. It was just one of those things where it was so weird just to, it's cool because we all know you're out there. You guys are awesome. And those of you we got to meet were even more awesome
Yes.
because you're the ones we don't get to see. But it's weird when you're confronted with that many people.
Yeah, we had we had people
I
coming
kept
up
feeling
to
like.
the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No,
Okay.
it was just kind of crazy, and I feel like I'm like humble bragging when I say this, but it's really kind of flattering and like intimidating when people are like, "Oh, what do you think about it?" And like they're expecting me to know everything, and I know more than I admit to, and like I realize, but wow, it's weird to be like I'm sort of an authority figure in this, and it's flattering and crazy, and I keep hugging Doomslug.
Well, you
So
think
it's
about it enough to discuss it on a regular basis, so
Yeah.
it's really cool.
No, one of my favorite things is when someone, which it's a shame that it wasn't live streamed. I'm gonna, in the future, I hope there's some way to live stream it because it was really cool. But it was just
I think
interesting where
yeah.
some people would ask a question and they're like, "There's actually a word of Brandon on this," and and you can bring it up, and the person's like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, Brandon talks a lot."
So I
Well,
think
he
when
goes to
I
so
can't
many
remember,
events.
I did, I think it was in, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I think it was one of the volunteers or something, and it kind of came up as to why they don't want to live stream the normal panels is because just in case a panelist says something that could be misconstrued or whatever else, they're giving them the anonymity that it's not going to be up on the internet. And
Protecting us from ourselves. Got it.
yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's kind of a thing that they just do. So as cool as it would be to have those out there, I think it's something that may not change.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was really cool. There's I just wanna. There's one guy in particular I just want to thank. Roger, you know who you are. Roger came to everything that we were at. Roger was awesome. He came all the way from Virginia to come to this convention. Apparently, he listens to us regularly. So Roger, we see ya.
Didn't we have like 2 people from Virginia at our panel?
Yes,
I thought we did. We had
yes,
like 2
there
people.
was.
Yeah, we did.
Then I accused them of carpooling or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's the first fan that Jordan and I have met in the wild.
Yeah, he
I
was
think
the very
Amy
first
met
one.
somebody at FanX.
Yeah, he was the very first one to come to our booth. Which was also okay. The location of our booth, people, was a choice.
Super cool.
Being right next to the
Lightweaver
Lightweaver Foundation was advantageous because everyone's coming up to there because not only are they trying to buy their ornaments, which I believe you can still buy up on their website to help the foundation.
Yeah, I think so.
So
Yep, they're $59.
yeah, $59. It's for
And they're
charity.
really pretty.
And they're hand glass blown, and saw
And
that video
speaking
replayed
of-
on loop.
Specifics, I believe the charity that they're going to this right now is Primary Children's Hospital.
Yes, they're trying to build
Yes,
one out.
the one in Lehigh, I believe.
Yeah, Lehigh, Utah.
Yeah.
Then
The other thing that's special, they're hand blown, and Brandon created 2 of his own, so they contain his
Yeah.
own breath.
And I
So-
think those are being auctioned off or something like that.
think
so
they
they're
are.
supposed to go for
Eagle.
a lot more.
Oh, of course they are.
yeah, well, and
Because, you know.
then
gonna go
across
for
from us were all the authors that went to this
Yes.
convention.
It
That
was
the
like
other-
Dan Wells and Brian McClellan and then Charlie and like all these other people too. And I was like, oh. And we got to talk to the Lux guy too. I can't remember his name. I'm terrible with names. But he had his booth across from us, but he wasn't at his booth like hardly ever.
Well, I think he
But-
said because this was his first published book, and it's like, what is he supposed to hawk? Because it's only an ebook right
It's
now.
an audio, yeah.
Yeah,
Or it's
only on
audio.
Yeah, it's only audio. And so I think he's
So-
sort of like, yeah, I'm gonna go do other things now. But we got to
I don't know
talk
what
to
to
him.
be at my table.
What's
He's
the
really
phrase?
nice.
If we got it in, what was it, Bill? Because we got to talk to
got
him.
it
There was some
Pangea.
phrase you came up with.
Oh,
Yes.
it was Neo-Pangea.
Something with
Yeah.
Pangea.
So if-
Neo-Pangea,
If
yeah.
Neo-Pangea shows up in the next book, Bill got that in there.
That's us.
It's Bill. And meanwhile, I'm trying to, because he's like, yeah, it's hard coming up with powers, and I'm trying to sell him on My Hero Academia. I'm like, yeah, they come up with weird stuff there. You might read that and get weird stuff. So if everything turns My
He
Hero
actually
Academia,
sounded interesting.
it's my fault.
Oh, hi, Michael.
Hey.
The
I didn't
monitor
realize
guy.
that.
He was super nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Michael, thank you. Thank you
We're
very much.
actually talking about the con right now, so
Yeah. So basically, there was a bunch of volunteers that were helping us out, and Michael is the one who actually made our panel possible. Or not our panel, the live recording possible. So you have him to thank. Eagle Dragon 921. You see him, give him an attaboy.
yeah. Let's talk a bit about the volunteers at MiniCon
were
because
super
they were
nice.
amazing. Like
Yeah,
everybody
like,
was just
there
so
were-
excited to be there.
And they humored all of my random questions. Like I think I asked about like his how the live stream was going to work for Brandon's speech at the end, because there was one of our patrons who was like, "Hey, do we have to watch it live, or is it going to be available later?" And so I was like, well, I have a volunteer right here. So I asked the volunteer, and the volunteer went to go ask somebody, and they came back and gave me an answer, which wasn't an 100% answer, but they were doing everything they could to help us out, which was really nice. And they were just friendly too.
Kara has trained her people well, and
Yes.
Kara, like if you were at the convention, you saw Kara. Kara was running around, and she never
was everywhere.
She's clearly tapping something because she was just never running out of energy.
She came by towards the end of, or halfway through day 2, and I was just like, and I said to her, "How are you still standing?" And she does this
She's like,
kung fu move, and she's like, "I could do this for days," because she was just in her element and loving it. So,
Yeah,
Kara, just wow, Kara, you did amazing
2
work.
thumbs up. Yes.
Your team was incredible.
well, and especially for a first time that they've ever done something like this. Like
Yeah,
I
this-
expected
Super smooth.
I expected a lot more hiccups just because you're going to enter problems that you've never seen before, but they were a well-oiled machine. Okay, thanks, Michael.
So the thing is, this wasn't just a good first con. This was a good con.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and that's important distinction, because that's what I expected was a good first con. But this was good.
This was a very good con. It was just well put together.
I mean, the only thing that happened that was kind of weird was my PowerPoint didn't want to play nice, but they were fighting to get it to work right, and it mostly worked. It was still like cutting off the left edge, but I mean, that's a random technical difficulty that's going to happen no matter what you're doing. And I was like, here, it's on my phone. How do I get it to play nice with your screen? And so, I mean, they did great with everything we threw at them.
Yeah. The other thing, and this speaks to Brandon and his team, and like his core team, there were so many volunteers that I had a friend who showed up to volunteer the evening of the first night, and he didn't have anything to do because there were so many volunteers who wanted to be involved and were working, and he's just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but just because there were people who want to make sure this goes off well.
Well, and
it just, like I said, it speaks to Brandon and his team and his fandom.
yeah. Well, and one of the other things, talking to the author, so this isn't a humble brag. This is an actual brag. We didn't know this going forward. We got there, and one of the volunteers comes over, and they're like, "Oh, hey, just to let you know, lunch is at noon." And we're all sort of looking at each other. We're like, "Okay, are you offering?
Are we supposed to go get food?
Are we supposed to get
I think it was you two. I wasn't at the booth right then.
Oh, right,
because
you were
Yeah.
at because you had to get your stuff.
You were at your panel.
And we're like, so like, are you just bragging to us, or like you inviting us to get food? Like, yeah, you know, for the people presenting, there's food, and it was good food. It was real good food.
Really good food.
And I was
last
You
shocked.
didn't
meal
have to
was
buy any
ribs.
meals. It was all there.
We were shocked, and so I don't know about you, Bill, Amy. I've never been a guest at a con before.
I haven't. No.
And so one thing that was really cool was in the lunch area, I saw one of the authors eating alone. Decided to introduce myself, talk to him. It was Eric Stone. I forgot his last name for a second. And he told me, I'm like, man, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, this isn't like most cons do not go to this effort. Brandon's really pulling out all the stops.
All I know is I get to say now that Brandon bought me ribs.
Mm-hmm.
At least he financed the ribs that were purchased for me, and I think that counts.
It does count as far as I'm concerned.
So
Yeah,
what are
it
some
was-
of
it
the
was
other
super
authors
good.
that you...
So I talked to Dan Wells for a little while. I talked to... I'm gonna
No. You didn't talk. You made
bargained.
trades. She came to bargain.
I
my
bartered.
friends.
So I was gonna say this closer to the end, but anyway, I was selling my dice, and I sold all but 4 of them, and I had 2 big boxes that I could have crouched down inside and pretty much been hidden in, and I'm 5'3", but so they're big boxes, and there was the whole line of authors across from us, and aside from I didn't talk to Stone, the guy you talked to. I didn't trade with him because he wasn't there at the time, but all the other authors there. I went over and I was like, so I do this sometimes at cons that I will exchange a dice for a book or something. Would you be open to that? And they were all like, yep. And Dan Wells, his assistant, I don't know if it's his wife or not. Anyway, but she was like, she came over to our table right before I did this. And she was like, so we were just going to see what the prices were for these because these look really cool. And I was like, oh, well, actually, I was thinking about doing an exchange thing. And she's like, oh, okay. And so I went over and talked to her and he was like, oh, which book do you want? She's like, no, for the price of these dice, she gets 2 books. so that was really cool.
It was just really
Dan
funny.
Mamu,
And
I
so-
have come to bargain.
Well, one of my favorite things about that was Amy was considering it. It was, it was getting towards the end, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I leave. And as I'm coming back, I see her at the table with Charlie, just, busking her wares, and I'm just like, look at Amy go.
Busking her wares. Yeah, I remember. I think I was gone when you started, and I came back, and suddenly there's a stack of books on the table. And I was just like, "You decided to splurge a little, huh?"
It's a
She's
stack
just
of
like,
books.
"I traded for them."
So
I bartered. It's great.
So the other thing, Eric Stone, I wasn't familiar with his work. He's a short story author. Won a Hugo, which he had on display at his desk, which I didn't,
Oh.
or not Hugo, a Nebula. Sorry, I did the wrong
A
thing.
nebula, yeah.
Which he had on
Is
display.
that what that cool thing was?
Yes.
Was a nebula? Oh.
Yeah, that. So it's an acrylic like display that has like this fake nebula that's just like frozen up in the air. It's really cool looking. And so he had a collection of short stories titled Rejiggering the Thingamajig. And he, of course, signed it for me. Jordan, everything's better with the dinosaurs in it. And he's just not wrong. He's not wrong. I haven't gotten the chance to read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it over the Christmas break. Just got
Amy, I just
Yeah,
realized.
so I
just realized
Go ahead.
something. What you did was essentially the reverse of what Brandon did for Magic cards. Because he traded his books
true,
for
I
Magic
did.
cards.
versus I'm like,
You traded
here's a
dice
dice.
for
Give me a book.
books.
And now
Yeah,
I'm
so I
realizing I'm
looked
the
up
only
at my
person
phone.
now on this podcast who hasn't traded objects for books.
I actually didn't do
Oh,
that.
you? I thought you did do it. Oh,
I already had all the books.
I thought that was how you got one of
Hot
them.
books.
No.
My apologies.
bought.
Dang it. Never mind.
No, the picture I took a picture of the books that I got for trade, and there's a picture of Dan Wells's back, and then you're like Bill's just barely in the picture. But I traded with Patterson, I don't know her first name, and
Jancy.
Walker, I don't know her first name. Yancey, okay.
Jancy.
And then Jancy, and I'm gonna get names wrong. I'm sorry. And Kara. Oh, so it's Kara Witter, Patterson, and Jancy Walker, and then Charlie and Holberg, Brian McClellan, and then 2 books from Dan Wells. So, yep, that's pretty cool.
Amy got okay. The
I
other
got 3
thing.
books.
So when Amy was on her panel, someone had to busk her wares for her.
Yep.
And so the first time,
And he went hard.
I went very hard. My favorite time being this guy. So for those who don't know, Amy has entire sets of these dice, and she was willing to part with a full set of them for $200. And unfortunately, I don't have her square because she doesn't want me to input something wrong. It makes perfect sense. I was a cash only business.
It's on my phone, so it's a little weirder.
Things got a little strange though because people kept coming up and asking us if we had any mushrooms. And meanwhile, I'm over here in a cash-only business, and it started sounding like a very different thing that was going on at our booth. It turns out there was some sort of like scavenger hunt, and there were
At
mushrooms.
each of his releases, Jordan or Brandon tends to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, but he didn't explain it
He
to
has
us,
games
so we
and
just
such.
had random people coming up. Hey, do you have any mushrooms? Are you hiding any? One person, are you hiding any mushrooms here? Which sounded really scandalous.
So, Brandon, what kind of enterprises are you in?
Exactly. And so, but
How
then
did you finance this con?
it shard, man. Got any of that darn
Breaking shard?
Anyway, no, but so then this guy comes and he's like, I'm thinking of getting a whole set, and I'm like, okay, are you paying with cash? He's like, I don't have that, and I'm like, okay, she will be back at this time, but when you come back, I need you to tell her that I really upsold you on this. And so he came back, and Amy apparently, like, the whole thing got ruined because he thought a set was like only like 3 dice. And so it's just like, this is really ruining my whole pretend sales job that I just did.
Because it's not 3 dice. It's a D20, a D12, a D10, a D8, a D6, and a D4. So that's 6.
I will just say, the D4, probably the least comfortable to sleep on.
It's super cute. It's just a little triangle, little pyramid.
Just don't sleep on it.
No, it'd be a little bit pokey, but it's super cute. There was somebody who came by and they were getting, I can't remember if it was a D10 or something like that, and they were getting it for a friend who was getting married, or they had, or who was their married friend or whatever, and they're like, oh, well, they already have this one, and then they have they just had a baby or whatever, and I was like, well, here's a D4, and they're like, oh, dang it, now I have to get that one. So, it's cute.
It was fun to see Amy getting a little bit aggressive.
It's weird. Like, sometimes I get super awkward because people would come by and we were showing off the Crafty Games dice that Bill has, and people would be like, "Oh, these are dice," and I'm like, "Well, these dice are for sale."
Oh, it was a great
Talk
lead-in.
about the nerd magnet those dice were. Holy crap.
I know.
Yeah, I brought those because we were scheduled to be next to Crafty Games. They had to pull out at the last minute, and Crafty
So
Games
you had an
made
empty table. Yeah.
But and so I was just like, I kind of wanted to have them and kind of geek out over them with the people who designed them. But
Yeah, they
Yeah.
so many people just came over. It was a conversation starter, as my grandfather would say.
And there was even somebody who came the second day, and they're like, because we didn't have them out on the table for a little while, and they're like, do you still have those? Because I really wanted to show my son them, and so we pulled them out so they could see them again.
yeah, everybody kept asking if they could buy them. I'm just like, I mean, they have them on
from
their
them,
website,
not from
so
us.
we ended up kind of boosting their signal a little bit.
Yeah, the people in the chat want to see the dice, Amy. Do you have any nearby? Oh wait, Bill does.
If it's
Oh,
close
sorry.
by.
My thing was off because I was typing. I can go grab them. It's just I'll have to go off screen for a second.
Yeah, those be fine.
So
Yeah,
I'll go do that.
I'm not sure where mine is.
Okay. No, but yeah, it was, those things were nerd magnets. The fact that we got to show off our business card felt really fun. I put a QR code on it, and that made me feel really happy as a extreme dork.
Very extreme.
Very extreme. The other thing that was funny was just the slapdash effort of putting up our sign.
What, the fact that we had strings of twisty ties?
Yeah, we date not twisty ties.
Not twisty ties.
Zip ties.
ties.
Zip ties.
Daisy chaining zip ties.
Daisy chain of them, yeah. So anyway, but here's the D6. So it's just a cube. All the numbers.
Yeah, very fluffy.
For our audio-only listeners, Amy is holding up plush dice.
They're about as big as my head. The D10 is, or at
Yeah.
least vertically. So this is a D10. This is a blue one. It looks really purple on my screen, but it's actually
It
a
looks
dark
very
blue.
blue to me.
Up a D.
Okay,
up a die.
well that's good because to me it looks very purple on my screen. And then I have
For those of you who are audio
This is
only
a D8.
listeners, Amy needs to adjust her color settings on her monitor.
apparently. So anyway, there's a D8, which is just 2 pyramids put together. So, but these are the only ones, and I have another D6 that's red. So that's all I have left are those guys.
Yeah, they.
So.
For our audio-only listeners, that crazy sound that just went by is a train, and Jordan's in my backyard.
We have no proof that
So.
that's not true.
Yeah. But anyway, so if you're looking for those, just listen for my website at the end, and they are up for sale. So
Yeah, no, Amy
I'll wait
cleaned
for later.
house. Amy cleaned
she did.
house.
Yeah,
Another
it's
thing that
crazy.
was really cool was the actual mem was there, manning the swag. And then on top,
Just so
in
we're
Lightweaver,
clear,
yeah.
just so there's no confusion, the actual real life mem is not Mem's Laundry Service.
yes,
Yes, different person. The best moment was there was someone who was cosplaying as Mem
Lynn.
or something like that.
Lynn. It was Lynn.
And then the actual Lynn was like, oh my goodness, this is the first cosplayer I found of myself. So she went and took a picture with him. But she was
Yes.
dressed up as Adolin at the time, so it was kind of funny.
yeah, because the real Lynn is she was there just like by the Lightweaver booth, and so we have two cosplayers come by, like, oh, it's good. She's, oh yeah, I'm trying to sort of do this Lynn. And she just sort of like be like, she's like, I'm sorry, did you say you were Lynn? Like, it's like, I need
I'm
a
sorry.
picture now, because I'm the Lynn.
That's
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the cosplays we saw.
Oh my goodness!
Because there were some
Slug.
amazing. Well, of course, we'll save that one for last
Okay.
because that one's unbelievable. But
I'm just gonna
let's see. There was, like you
I
said,
saw Steris.
there were of course a lot of Spences, and other
Lots of
members
Spences.
of Skyward Flight.
Yeah, because obviously this was a book release for
Cytonic, yeah.
Cytonic.
Exactly.
Which okay,
Yeah, and there were
Vins,
Go ahead.
including one Vin at our booth,
lots of Vins and Mistborns going around.
including
There was a Vin
Amy.
at the booth, including Amy. It was so funny. I just got changed out of my Vin costume, and then Brandon was going around and was at our booth right after I changed out. And I'm like, oh, I just changed out of my Vin cosplay. But you,
He still-
but
he
you
was
saw
admi-
me at
he was-
FedEx.
and he was admiring the mist cloaks.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
So-
what did he say?
He was just
Or
like, those are
looking
some.
at them?
That's a cool mist cloak. I like that. So.
Sorry, I have a geeky moment. You didn't tell me.
Oh, I mean,
sorry.
I didn't. I wasn't
I
there
zipped
for
it
that
too.
either.
It was right there, so it'd been weird, yeah.
I wasn't there.
I mean, it was just sort of a he didn't stare at it or anything, but he just mentioned, oh, that's a nice mist cloak in the back.
which okay,
it's
so
still cool. I
the
like
mist
it.
cloak on the mannequin was a bit of an ordeal for us.
The cloak wasn't. It was the mannequin. that
Yeah,
was-
the mannequin.
This is a freaking mannequin. So yeah, the mannequin. I had never taken that mannequin apart, but there was like a giant rod in the base of it, and then one that goes down to the floor, and you were supposed to like tighten a thing on the side, like one of those little, I don't even know how you describe it, where it like
Bolt?
loosen and tighten and have a bolt, but I had like one of those things that you twist side to side, and you were supposed to just open it that way and then slide it off the rod. And I separated it more than I should have, and so the giant rod went inside the body of the body. So we had to duct tape it.
it
Well,
was put
instead of
together with
having
chewing
it
gum
actually
twine.
fit.
I had a metal straw in my backpack, and so I have to we shove it, then we zip tie it, and sort of delicately balance it, and just like yes,
It's just a little bit askew.
it's a confident lean back is what it was, and yes, we're professionals.
Next year, I know how to do this better, so it will not happen again.
No, it was fun.
No.
Okay, other cosplays though. There was the big one. One of the.
So I
most,
also. Go ahead.
There was
No, you were-
there
you
was
were
the
talking.
Steris you were talking
so-
about that was really good.
Yes, she was she looked really awesome as Steris, and she was at my she was at my Cosmere 101 panel, I think, as well as, and she was leaving when I was waiting for the 450, which was after.
And then all the
And there was also a couple waxes.
Yeah, a couple waxes. All the Stormlight
Yeah.
ones really improved when they started buying up those giant foam swords that were being sold.
The foam swords and spears.
What
and
were they
everything
called?
Else,
They
yeah.
were called
foam smith.
Forged foam.
forged foam. That's what it is.
Forged foam.
Yeah, and boy,
So, yeah.
they had some incredible wares there. You just see people walking around with these giant
These giant
swords.
spears.
My favorite was there was a kid that had one that the kid maybe like late elementary school, and so this thing just towers over him, and he's walking around with one. It was hilarious.
Because
That
I mean, it
person-
looks like, yeah, that screams Shardblade to you.
Well, I saw in the price of those shard blades was $200, and I was just like, Amy, if you want to barter, you should take one of your full sets of dice over there and see if you could swap and just do a straight up
No,
swap.
I already made my spear. Anyway, and
blade.
They do look really cool. Well, yes. But when we already discussed this. When I want
Not
my
on
own shard
stream.
blade, I want it to look more shard blade-ish. And like they are very nice, but they're not
foam.
exactly the look I want. They're foam.
Yeah.
And that's
They're-
fine, but
they're
I want a
designed for
slightly
kids
different look.
They're
for me.
designed for kids to play with them.
To beat each other
So
up.
whereas the one I have, the one I want to make someday, I don't want it to look. I don't want you to actually beat up people with it. I want it to just look really pretty. So
Yeah.
that's me.
Well, that was one of the things that they talked about in the licensing panel that I went to.
I wish I could have gone to that.
That was an interesting one because they had someone from his agency. They had one of the people from Forged Foam, and they had one of the people from what was the other board game group that was there?
GameFound.
GameFound.
No, not GameFound.
Brotherwise.
Brotherwise Games.
Yeah, Brotherwise
Yeah,
Games.
Brotherwise.
And so they were talking
GameFound is
about
like a Kickstarter program.
how it worked and stuff, and the Forged Foam people said that COVID actually like skyrocketed their sales because suddenly they were getting all these orders in from parents who were desperately trying to buy things that would get their kids out of the house. And so they were getting them,
But not kill them.
yes, but not kill them.
Yeah.
Because like real swords would do that as well, but then there's the issues. And yeah, and so
The issues.
I thought that was very interesting. Of like, okay, I didn't think about forged or foam swords as a big benefiter of the lockdowns.
Yeah, it's surprising what does well.
Okay, can we talk about my favorite cosplay? Probably everyone's favorite cosplay. Because this thing was amazing. There was a girl who, her COVID hobby that she picked up was making these giant inflatable costumes. She made, I can't say life size because this is like 100 times life size Doomslug.
It's like it's a person standing inside it, like the head part, here.
And she,
And
It's-
that was her
if
height.
you used pin particles to increase Doomslug size to that of a person, that's what it was. She was
Yeah.
this giant inflatable Doomslug, and it was to the nines as far as
well,
quality
and
goes.
she had strings inside that were attached
she
to all the
could pull
spines
the-
so she could pull them down to make little
could make it and they'd
expressive
move.
expressions.
well, and she
And
also
she had
feet.
like the
Her
Go ahead.
feet stuck out just at the very bottom, and then they were sealed around her ankles. And so she could only take tiny little steps. So
She
what
could
she would do is
shuffle.
she'd take these just little shuffling steps, and you just watch it sort of rattle slither across the room. It was the most adorable thing.
Well, you could even
It was awesome.
remove the face from it because it looked very much like the plushie, but you could remove the face from
Yeah, it
it, so
looked
it was more
like that.
more canonical.
Eagle Dragon
And she
921
had-
calls it Doomslug Prime.
Yeah,
And there's Doom Hut too. I like that name. So and she also had I think it was right about here, where she had it so that there was yellow mesh, so she
On the
could see
forehead,
through. But,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and so it just looked like it was just solid when you took a picture or whatever. Anyway, but it was really cool.
yeah. If you're
And I
interested,
think I saw that they went to Emerald City Comic Con too.
Yeah, well, so she's now turned this into her side business, actually. And she gave me her
man.
business card, which for audio only listeners, her business
that's
card
right.
is a dragon.
It's a dragon because that was her other one. She had a dragon. I didn't see her in it. I saw her getting into it though.
Yeah, it's called Fernside Dragons. Fernside. So if you're interested in commissioning her, that's what she is.
Yeah. Now, there were some other inflatable costumes walking around. The Shard Rexes.
Shard Rexes. I got a picture. I'll have to put that up on our Instagram and stuff like that because I got a picture with them and they had a sign that had said hashtag Shard Rex, and so I got to stand in between them with it, and they were holding their shard blades. It was
Now,
awesome.
those are official Dragonsteel people, right? Because one of them
Yeah.
was, I think Isabel was, which is
'cause
Isaac's and Kara's daughter.
It's a bit that's been spiraling out of the live streams.
And so there were a couple of people in the inflatable T-Rex costumes carrying around shard blades and fighting.
It was awesome.
Just having expos. I think they even had a battle in the arena. There
was a battle
foam
arena.
arena.
Where people would do battle with their foam swords. Did we mention this con was awesome? To say nothing
so
of
much
the
fun.
art you could buy that was there.
Yeah, that was like the whole other side, and that was just overwhelming. I was like,
that was over where the
that's
legendarium
expensive.
was. Oh yeah. So the coolest
yeah.
art that was there were wood carved prints of various scenes from the Stormlight archive. I can't remember who did those, but they were absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. So
I didn't get to
so
see
pretty.
those. Actually.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, because
I didn't.
For me, it was while you two were on your panels when I saw the first one. Some guy was just walking by, and I just saw it sticking out of his bag, and I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm just like, hey, can I see that? He's like, oh, sure. And it's like he shows off all this art that he bought, and I'm just like, what the crap is going on the other side of this convention? Because it was the beginning, and I'm manning the booth because they have their panel they're doing, so I can't go over and check what's going on at the time. I'm like,
We were on the south side. It's like, what's the north side doing over
yeah,
there?
apparently there's just art. They're just doing insane crap over there. I'm hearing swords clash. It's a madhouse.
They offered to let me do you want to do battle or whatever? And I'm like, oh, not in this getup. When I was Vin, I was like, I'm not risking it in this. Because they had
Jordan,
the little
chat
arena
wants
where
you to
could do
put
stuff.
the name of
sure.
the
Gotcha.
the dragon thing. So I was like, yeah, he has the card. I don't have the card. So.
Yeah, no,
But it was
like
really awesome.
no. There's so many talented people that just showed up here, and I look. Some of this might be, this is probably a lot of people's first convention since lockdowns and stuff. So this was a pretty big, exciting event. But I think it's also just this is the first Randon related event. Like he's not just
Of this scale.
Yeah, he's not just he's not one of the authors who's at someone else's convention. This is his convention for his fans. Mm-hmm. And the range of ages was impressive.
Well, if you just think about the books that he's written for a range of ages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was like
At
there was
Cosmere 101, there were a bunch of kids, and I could tell that they were probably here because of Cytonic and Alcatraz, not because of the Cosmere. And so it was kind of interesting to be like, oh well, because Craig had people raise their hand if this was their first time learning about the Cosmere or whatever, and it was like a good 30-40% had not really known about the rest of it yet. So I was like, oh, this makes me feel even more responsible for making sure you get the right information here, because they didn't know about it yet.
Yeah, it was well, like there was like there were full on grandparents, like, and I mean like 80 years old. Like you could tell they're pretty far up there, that they were at this convention with their kids and their grandkids. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know that fantasy readers existed, back then, but I don't think of them. Like I think of Brandon's fans are around our age or younger. And there's even older ones, and it was just I wasn't prepared for that many that big of a range of people. It was
You were not prepared.
I was not. Then one of the other cool things was just our live recording. So a lot of you listened or watched it, but I wasn't expecting the number of people who had never listened to us before who showed up. Because we were a very late panel.
It was at our normal recording
Our
time.
normal time.
And so everyone is. I just figured everyone's wiped out from the day because cons are tiring, and
there was another panel going on too at the same time that was a pretty big one, I thought.
yeah, and
It was
Can't remember
Dan's.
what it was, but
it was Dan's panel.
Oh yeah, Dan Wells.
He was at cons. He'll do a screening of Jaws, and anytime anyone wants to, they can just shout stop, and then they'll stop the movie and talk about what's going on screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Michael in chat, how many people did you estimate were in the live recording? I
I
would
thought it
guess
was 20 something.
Oh, it's more
It
than
was 20 to 30.
Yeah, I was gonna say 20 to.
Was it 30?
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
22:30.
2,230.
No. But I mean, we
20?
were talking it up at the booth and saying, oh, hey, if you're here tonight, we're doing our recording. And there were a couple people who were like, oh, yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's part of how we got some of the people to come to it. 25 to 30. Woo.
Yeah. And then when
That's crazy.
when we was like, hey, so who's listened to us before, and like, Roger, Michael, our other Michael, which, by the way, to other Michael, thank you for showing up and being our backup on the recording for us. For those who don't know,
we really appreciate that.
Michael is a legend because he's our first patron, and he showed up to this and helped us out just to give us a backup, just in case our other recording didn't work. But yeah, I'd say only like 5 people raised their hands saying they were, current listeners of ours, and there's just a bunch of new people that just sort of
hey, why not?
Let's talk the Cosmere. Let's do this.
But yeah, it was cool. It just sort of turned into an aluminum foil hat theory episode.
It was good practice for me and Bill for when we had to do it the next day with Marcy.
Yeah.
Oh,
which we need to get Marcy on the show.
Speculation. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Especially because she's going to represent me in what she assumes is a pending lawsuit between us.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe she thought you were the victim.
I'm the victim, everyone. I'm the victim. Bill's clearly an evil landlord.
Oh no.
There's a reason I keep him in the basement.
I'm going to turn you over to my paralegal. Marcy.
Marcy's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a ton of fun, and it's very interesting just getting to, because we've only done the show here, and chat's awesome. We love our chat, but it's really different to have a live audience that you're sort of trying to react to and read, and you have no clue or control over what questions come at you. Mm-hmm. Like if a weird question comes up in chat, we can just ignore them. Can't do that at a panel.
Shh! Don't tell them our secrets.
Well,
I'm sitting here in my pajama pants and just and I put my kids to bed like an hour ago, and so it's just kind of like that's my norm versus like I'm at con and I have just people in front of me again. Oh, okay, this is different.
In the hundreds,
they're right there.
In the hundreds at those panels.
Yeah, like I was surprised at how calm I was. I thought I was going to be a lot more nervous about it, and I think I spoke more quickly when I was nervous, which is something that I realize I do. But generally, I was able to be like, okay, well, I've already talked about this a billion times in the podcast, and I made the slideshow the night before, so it's fresh in my memory. Let's just go for it and just talk at you. No, Craig was a really good interviewer type thing, so he was really good at facilitating that, which was good.
Yeah, it was nice meeting the guys from the Legendarium, just because.
Oh, they were just good, solid guys.
Because I met Craig and Ryan because Bill and I walked back with Ryan to the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who the Legendarium are, they're a podcast that focuses on fantasy in general.
Like fantasy?
Yeah, it's fantasy in general. So they've obviously reviewed a bunch of Brandon's books.
They've got a bunch of hosts though, and each of them sort of has their specialties.
Yeah, so it's
I still haven't listened to them. I need to do that.
Yeah, it's good listen if you guys are reading other books, or just go for the Brandon stuff. Either way, cool guys.
Like I said, they're just really cool guys. I really enjoyed meeting them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody there was super nice.
We talked a little bit about this earlier about merch that we bought. So Amy and I, of course, got our Doom Slugs. And then of course there's shirts, like tons of Brandon shirts. It was so cool.
So if you saw the shirt in the social media posts I put up, that's the Dragonsteel shirt, and Bill's wearing it right now. I'm not. It's in my laundry right now. But so
everyone, you can see here that Bill Giles is wearing the 2021 model. It is blue with red accents with a yellow dash. You can see the dragon.
It's gray.
Look, I'm trying to do this. I'm doing a thing.
Walking down the
runway.
The runway. The red carpet, and people are like, "Ooh, Bill, who are you wearing?" I'm wearing a Sanderson original.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, man, so I have crazy plans for what costumes I'm going to try and do next year, because I had my spear on the table and people thought that was really cool, and I had like my glass daggers, and I had people tell me about trying to make them like the obsidian ones, but doing with black acrylic, and I'm like, oh man, now I gotta make
that was it. That was an interesting conversation, him explaining why black acrylic's easier to use.
because it absorbs the heat and it cuts it faster. And I'm like, oh, I didn't cut these personally. I just paid somebody to do it because I don't have a laser cutter. So, because honestly, I don't know where to put it in my house. That, and I don't know what I would sell with it. That's the other big thing.
So. But what was some of the other cool merch that you saw and noticed?
I bought a shirt with the Shash brand on it because I am dangerous.
I got one for Josh, but he doesn't know about it yet, so I have to be quiet.
I thought it was because you wanted to say,
present.
let's get dangerous.
No, I'm not that cool. But yeah, so I didn't buy too much other merch. I mostly slung my dice.
Hashtag Kala Darkwing.
Nice. That was one of the other things that was cool just about the merch was I thought for certain with the amount of people walking around with plushy Doom Slugs that they would be out of those. They were well stocked. This goes again to just how well organized it is. There was never like I looked over and one of their products was out. Like they
were very well stocked.
They stocked themselves and they understood how much they needed to keep going. It was again just a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I bought. Oh, that's right. I bought a Bridge 4 patch too. That was the other thing I bought, so I can do my Bridge 4 costume.
Yeah, that was right. Because the volunteers Eagle Dragon that got those cool water bottles that weren't being sold.
Yeah, they had water bottles.
There were water bottles, so.
And everybody liked them, and
because they had the Dragonsteel logo on them. Mm-hmm. But so that's a shirt I would like that they don't have currently. I would like just a plain Dragonsteel logo shirt.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can pass that along. It'd be good.
Yeah.
Be great.
It's gonna be big.
We also did lots of networking, and we can't talk about details, but there was lots of fun networking with people.
Yes, there were some interesting conversations had.
And for the record, we tried,
really
me specifically, I tried really, really hard to get Kara to make a Sunni cub, and it's not happening, folks. It's just not happening.
I made one, and he sat on my table, and it was cute, but he's a lot of work.
He also sheds.
And he does shed a lot. I need to, shake him really hard or something to get it to stop.
Pet care with Amy. Shake him really hard.
Only when they're plushies. But I mean, the biggest thing with plush things or bespoke things or whatever else that you hand make is that it always is going to cost more than what most people are going to want to pay for it. Because I mean, Doomslug was like $35, right? Which is a good price. But for me to make it, it would probably cost more just because I'm not a production thing. I have to make it myself, and it's going to cost a lot more. So, but I mean, you compare it to, anyway. So yeah, just I don't know that I could ever make Sunni cubs just kind of on the side or plush dogs or whatever, and make enough to make it worthwhile for people to want to buy it. Because I mean, it would have to be someone who's like, yeah, I will pay you the $50,
that's
$60,
why I was trying to get
$70 to do it.
That's why I was trying to get Kara to do it. Try and
so she could hire people to mass produce.
Apparently,
to mass produce
there's some nightmare story about her and Sudi cubs that just this boulder is not budging. I tilted at that particular windmill, and it didn't go well.
Did she say why? Or
there's apparently some history. Yeah, it's She apparently it's a nightmare for some reason. I don't know what. Although, okay, the other cool thing, because we've had to be quiet about this, we knew about the incoming Doom Slugs months ago. Because when we got to tour the Dragonsteel warehouse, she showed us the prototype.
She showed us the prototype.
He was so
the proto slug, if you will. And so it was really cool seeing them out in the wild. Oh, were they selling those puzzles that we saw out on those tables?
No, those are prototypes.
Okay.
So that's something that will be coming.
Yeah, so they had
That's cool. They had You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to just describe the same thing you were, so you go ahead.
So go ahead.
Somebody
there
say
were some
something.
tables outside of the main like exhibitor hall, which was on the first floor. There were like these big round tables, and they had a bunch of different puzzles. Apparently, the prototypes. I didn't know they were prototypes of like the Rosharan map, and what were the other ones?
There was like a stained glass one, I believe.
Oh, according to Eagle Dragon 921, those were out to gauge reaction to see. Now, during the upcoming stuff at Dragonsteel, they asked people the response, and there was a good response. So, from what it sounded like, I think they're going to move forward with it. But I obviously can't speak for that for certainty.
My favorite part about the stained glass one was because it's I can't remember what it was of the Stormlight Archive, but it was something stained glass in it, which fits the iconography of.
Was it one of Renarin's visions?
I think it might have been.
That would probably.
But
that might be from the game.
So it was set in a white building or whatever. So what was funny was people are working on it all day. We go back day 2. I look and it's basically done except for all like the white space. There's just pieces sort of scattered about of people are sort of like, I'm not about that business. That's where it gets hard.
And the I think it was the Rosharan map, and it was like the ocean around it, and they're like, that was the last thing to be done.
Yeah,
was that
filling in the edges and the nowheres of the puzzle. It's I don't know. There's a whole puzzle culture I never knew about, but someone came onto my sports station I listened to talking about it. They like these challenging puzzles, and they talked about one that I'm just like, don't you love yourself? It was a 3,000 piece puzzle that was entirely black with extra pieces in it that don't actually belong.
That's like my grandmother for years. Puzzles were her thing, and people would always try to stump her. The one that my brother gave her, it had a picture on one side, and then on the other side, it was the same picture rotated 90 degrees.
That is so evil.
The only double-sided puzzle I've done was like it had an apartment building on the other side, and so you had to get the apartment building right, because it would have like so-and-so is dropping a pot, and this other person's reacting to the pot being dropped, and so like that one, and I can't remember what was on the other side, but it was something like that. That's the only double-sided one I've ever done with my family, and that was scary enough.
The stained glass was the first ideal of the Knights Radiant.
Oh,
according to chat.
Yeah,
we have the people who are in the know.
Yeah, we had some good people there. That's the other thing. I just loved meeting people who were excited, like, about Brandon stuff. I don't go.
Everyone wanted to geek out about it.
Yeah, I don't go to Brandon cons, I don't go to cons in general. Like, that's not something I tend to do. And so this was, for me, a very unique experience.
Well, and that's the thing. Clearly, we love geeking out about Brandon stuff. Going to this con, everybody else did too, and it because we started this podcast so that we could talk about Brandon stuff, because these are the people who are going to talk about it with us. Other people, we start talking about, they're just like, oh my gosh, he's on that thing again.
What?
He won't stop, But with these people, we say stuff and they're just like, yeah. Oh, you want me to talk
Did you
more
hear
about
this
it?
thing?
Okay, here.
Yeah.
So.
It's really nice from the cosplay standpoint, because I'm like, I'm not going to have anybody looking at me dressed up as Vin and go, who is she? They're going to go, it's Vin. They're going to know instantly, or at the very least go Mistborn,
There was one.
And I have some other costumes planned that I'm pretty sure would not be recognized at FanX or anything else. Like, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot by saying it, but I really want to do Pylea, the Herald, someday. And she's not going to be recognized outside the Cosmere. She's just not. So
even within the Cosmere, like that was a pretty.
Within the Cosmere, I'm still going to have people going, wait, why do you have a giant sword and a glove? Who are you?
That's okay. My favorite cosplay I saw, there was someone who was a dead ringer Navani. Or not Navani.
Was it Navani? I remember it was Yasna.
Yasna.
There was a Yasna. She was at our recording too. It was really she was awesome.
Well, then also, I can't remember his name, but the guy from the Read and Find Out channel, he was Wax.
Oh, right,
and he walked by and I was just like,
yeah,
he's got a mist coat. I want a mist coat so bad.
I'm sorry, Bill.
Oh, that's not your responsibility.
I know, but I feel responsible because I'm the cosplayer, so obviously.
You already have
I can-
children to be responsible for. You don't need your man-children co-host to be responsible for as well.
I commissioned a friend to make an entire Captain Hook costume for me once. I can get somebody to make me a mist coat if I need to.
It's a really good Captain Hook costume.
Oh, I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, he showed it off at a few of socials in college. It's fancy. Bill's a fancy person. We're fancy people. We're a big deal, apparently. I've determined this all because of the fact that Brandon fed us. And I feel that's the true mark of whether or not you're a big deal.
He fed us ribs, Jordan. He didn't just feed us.
And tacos.
And chicken.
And cheesecake.
Yes.
And
I didn't eat the
churros.
The churros
were
in
churros.
particular were great.
The churros were good. Anyway, sorry, all the food. It was good. Like, con food, I'm usually, like, scrounging random whatevers and like, realize that I'm running on a granola bar and, like, some fruit or something like that, and then I get home. But, like, no, I ate real food for every meal.
I was thinking I was going to go across the street to Fat Daddy's for pizza.
Yeah. Well, and we were perfectly fine with that. Like, the food,
Yeah, that's what
they
you do at
didn't
cons.
tell us that we were getting food. And so, like, bonus food is so much more loved than expected food.
And then quality bonus
Yes,
food.
really good
Yes.
bonus food. And plus, the meals were a great time to actually talk to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah, we talked to the Barnes and Noble lady. She was really nice.
She was really nice. The one who she works at the
She's
Barnes
like
and
the
Noble that
manager or
Brandon
something.
always goes and brandalizes the books, as he calls it.
Yeah.
Because they actually have a Brandon Sanderson section.
Yeah.
yeah,
they have a
if
whole
you
section
want a
for 'em.
signed Brandon Sanderson book, the Barnes and Noble in Orem, really good place to go. Like, they literally mark them if they're signed. Like,
He stops in from time to time to just sign everything they've got, and as they start to run low, they let him know.
yeah, it's really good if you want signed Brandon Sanderson stuff. The other thing that was really cool, just with the just seeing the overall production of everything, was because we got there early, we got to see them putting a lot of things together, and because of it, we got to see a lot of the sort of the triage of situation of everyone's like, where's this, where's that, go, and just people just grabbing stuff. And as that's going on, in the middle of it, there's Shard Rex just running around with a sword, and you're just like, what is this place?
And then Doomslug just sort of skitters by.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. That's what it is.
Well, it was really interesting to see as sort of the ebb and flow, just, as panels go up, suddenly the convention floor just dies completely down. And then, suddenly there's a flood of people as the panels get out, and it just goes back and forth like that.
It reminds me of that line from Alice in Wonderland. We're all mad here.
Well, look, let's be honest. Like, if someone was looking in from the outside, they would be convinced this was some sort of cult meeting. Let's be real.
But the best.
And they'd be assuming we're worshiping the Doom Slug. So they've made themselves
That's why
a
wouldn't you?
giant slug thing to worship. I'm pretty sure
And-
there's something against
and
this.
they've animated it.
Yes.
It moves.
Also, I'm not going to go into details, but this little happy face thing is now canon. And I love it.
So that was the other thing. I was worried because people were getting their Cytonic books at the beginning of day 2. And that was the one panel I was on, was the panel with you, Bill, the speculation one. And there was part of me that was really worried that people would be so excited for their books, they'd just be sitting there, just devouring the books. And there were some people, like, you could go into some of the quieter parts of the convention, you'd see people just sort of going through Cytonic. But people were very engaged in the convention, despite the fact that they had a brand new book.
Yeah, the audiobook was released at midnight, and so I was already listening to it on my way to the con. So,
and there's some hope that, they haven't confirmed it, but there's some hope that we'll be doing it about this time again next year.
Yeah, we did just get a release date for the Lost Metal.
Last
What was it?
That's November 15th.
Which
Is it 15th? I thought it was.
I think it was 15th. Pretty sure it was 15th.
but that would be about
November.
it'd be about a year later, and like if Brandon wants to sort of release on this yearly schedule as an excuse to keep doing cons, I'm very cool with this.
Not that he's asking me.
No.
But
But we're gonna keep trying to stay plugged in.
as long as they keep inviting us, we're going.
Yeah,
go.
because it's getting to be with everyone is so cool, and then two, just being part of panels and stuff like this. It's really good practice for us because we're not used to dealing with large groups of people for it, and so I don't know. It's a unique experience. If you didn't go this year, I highly recommend you come next year if they have it, and if that's the case, if we get enough of it, maybe we'll do our own thing. I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure it out as time goes on. But there could be all sorts of cool stuff. So let's make it happen, people.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Been waiting for a while to the end of that saga.
Yes.
Of that section of the saga.
Now that one, if everything happens the same way it did this time, I'm gonna have to talk to the con people. Be like, we need the speculation panel the day before, because you can't do a speculation panel with everyone having the lost metal in their hands. Like,
well, that's like when we were recording our episode, our live episode. People had gone to a panel where Brandon did a reading from the Lost Metal.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, well, we weren't there for that reading, so we can't really speculate on it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Charlie's panel was hilarious. But she was...
Oh, because you guys went to that one.
I did.
Bill
I did.
Right?
Yeah, Bill was telling us about that.
Oh,
That's right.
Charlie's panel was absolutely hilarious.
So for those who don't, Charlie Holmberg, she's been on the show before. Friend, she went to college.
She's a friend of ours. Yeah, and she's worked with Brandon before. She was one of his students, and they've worked together and know each other. So I went to, because I know Charlie, I was like, hey, I want to go to her panel, and I walk in. And it looks like the room's empty for a second. Then I look over in the corner, and there's a few people clustered around. And I walk over, and I see Charlie sitting on the floor. And everybody's just sort of gathered around, and she's just grumping. She's like, they made my panel at the same time as the Intentionally Blank recording, which Intentionally Blank is Brandon and Dan's podcast.
And they're right next door.
And so anytime we'd hear like a laugh or a cheer from the room next door, she'd look over with this bitter look on her face. You'd just be like, it wasn't that funny. No, and she was leaning into it. You could tell, like, she just was like, why did you give me this slot? Because everybody's going to the Brandon panel, of course.
Yeah, the only thing that could have been worse was the Q&A panel for Brandon. That's the only one that would have been worse.
But that said, it was really cool because it was a very intimate discussion and was just got to chat about all sorts of stuff. Because if you've ever met Charlie, she is a very entertaining person just in general.
Oh, yeah.
Her mind is bouncing back and forth from one topic to another, and just she's hilarious. So it was a fun panel.
Yes. The Sanderson Sisters panel was really nice. We got to find out like some random stuff about when he was a kid and how he proposed to his wife, and they were at the same time as, I think it might have been the Q&A, I can't remember, but it was another big panel, and they're like, and we still have a big chunk of the room, so that was that.
Oh, I forgot. Really so I went to the editing panel that had the Alstroms 3. I didn't realize this that Peter Alstrom, I forget his wife's name, and
Karen
Ostrom,
Karen.
and just recently his sister has joined the editing team. So it's all three Alstroms. Dragonsteel's very much a family affair, and it was very interesting to see them talk about the editing process. One, the panel was definitely run by a bunch of editors, because it wasn't like every other panel where it's like, all right, at the end, let's come up and just ask questions. It was, all right, this is where we get to the first pass of the edit. Does anyone have questions on the first pass? You may come up now. And people might have one or two, questions for that. And he's like, all right. Then they go to what happens when you go to the second pass. All right, does anyone have any questions about the second pass? And I'm like, what is this? This is an editing of a panel. And then one thing that was really cool was, one, I didn't know about orphans and widows, which apparently are type spacing things, where you don't want one line that is just a single word. So that's an orphan, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That would make
so that's
sense,
an orphan. So if that's the case, they'll tweak things with how tightly things are spaced on lines above. It's so like when you're trying to squeeze your way through whatever your class is, and it's like, I got to make this go, an extra couple pages.
Playing with the margins.
Yeah, you just play with margins. You play with the kerning. It's like, what will the teacher not notice? And so it's very much like that. Then there's widows, which apparently are when letters or spaces line up like in a straight line and sort of create either a gap or a weird pattern that your brain will notice as you read it. It sort of tears you out of it. Apparently, one of the beta readers wrote a program to pick those up for Brandon. Now, it has a lot of false positives, and so one of the things that Peter's sister does is she goes through that.
Let's see. Shed B. Cooper in chat says what you're talking about is letter stacks or space stacks.
Oh, okay.
Letters, I think, are a different thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know about that. So I had no clue about that. The other thing that was interesting is we got to see how much of what Brandon's done is a well-oiled machine designed so that he can stay permanently in creation space, so that he doesn't have to deal with this other stuff. Because one thing Peter told a story about the writing of Steelheart. So basically they got to the final edit. I forget what it was called, where it's handed off to the publishing company, and they have their editor look it over. And their editor said, okay, there's a problem here, and it's the end of Steelheart where they're getting everything set up, and they need all these explosives set up. And basically, the way it was written, no one set up the explosives, but the explosives were set up. And so it's this big old gaping plot hole of these magical explosives that just sort of appear. But Brandon's, waist deep in writing Oathbringer at the time, and Peter can't go to him and be like, hey, we need you to rewrite this because there's a gaping plot hole. So Peter had to write 2 pages of Steelheart and then just sort of send it to Brandon and be like, so you good with this? Brandon makes 1 or 2 changes and, sends it on his way so he can get back to Stormlight. And so Peter's sitting here, like, so I really like Steelheart because I wrote 2 pages of it.
That's great.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was so... Well, one of the other cool things was... because they had a bunch of the... they're showing, like, the actual editing process, and so they're showing pages, and they show this cool part where, all right, this is now past the part where I read, and we're now sending this off to our beta readers who are leaving notes, and he's showing how their notes are organized, and people can sort of +1 comments so people can agree. And so someone got up and they're like, so is this where do your subject matter experts come in? Because they're not part of the regular beta readers. They're they're specific to this book. So in the Cytonic series, they have a fighter pilot that's one of their subject matter experts.
He came by the booth, actually.
Yeah,
he's really
South
nice.
African. Yeah. Which just I didn't know. He's got to be the one who came from the furthest distance, right?
Probably.
Likely.
Anyway, and so people are like, so when did they bring in? And they're sort of talking, and then Peter's sister's like, actually, he's on this picture. Like, and like at the bottom, we see, he's talking about they wouldn't use this term, they would use this term instead. Just explaining the terminology. And they say, oh yeah, apparently they're part of this edit too. Like, and it was just so cool to see what the process is, and it lets you see how dedicated Brandon is to getting these stories out, that this is a whole team designed to make it so that there is so little friction as possible.
Well, and that's what he's done that's so smart, is he's built this team so that he can focus on generating a lot of content, and then if he needs the reference, he just reaches out and it comes back.
Yeah, well, and I mean, this is just something that's so unique to Brandon, that he's able to find just so many talented people to handle these tasks for him. And so people, I know there's always the joke in the fantasy circles that, all the other authors hate Brandon because he puts them to shame as far as how quickly he's turning out these books. And part of the reason is Brandon has created an incredible organization, and we sort of know it, but without going to something like this and seeing all the people behind the scenes, you sort of don't understand the scope of what it is Brandon has created. We think of him as creating the Cosmere, and it's like, no, he's created something even.
He's created Dragonsteel.
Yeah, and it is good. It's very impressive, and I mean, I don't know how he was able to do all this and write all these books, but it's been effort.
I think his wife helped quite a bit when in the Sanderson sister panel he talked about that she ended up kind of being like, well, this is what I do, is I help facilitate you being able to write. So
yeah, and I feel bad for every other writer
who doesn't have this kind of
who doesn't have a Dragonsteel. There's part of me that now really wants, and I think we should try and get it to, like, I think it'd be really cool to get like a book signed by like the team.
Yes, I think that would be really cool. Oh, according to Shed B. Cooper, who's a he's are you a beta reader, alpha reader? He's done a lot of, been part of the process, but he said apparently Peter was also a big part of building this team.
I mean, Peter's known Brandon forever.
He's involved. That's what he says. I'm involved.
Fair enough. But yeah,
this was
all right,
so
well,
cool.
we should probably start.
But yeah,
we should probably start wrapping up.
TLDR, show up next year, everyone.
So
it'll be awesome.
We do love hearing from our listeners, so please keep sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You drop us ideas for topics you'd like us to discuss during the show. You can ask us what we had for dinner or what we'd like to cook next. While you're at it, we'd love to hear your feedback about how you think we're doing, as well as any interesting theories you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. You can send all questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and we could read that as part of the show. We do also have a P.O. Box at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We do have our own personal projects outside of the show. So, Jordan, why don't you start off and let us know what you've been up to?
Today we actually did a sort of an experiment on my stream on twitch.tv/splicestream. We've been doing some conversational streams where we pick a topic and talk about it. This was the first one.
I'm in those sometimes.
Yes, Bill is in it sometimes. This is the first time we delved a bit into a self-help topic. Mostly it's been video game or movie related. We got some pretty good response from it, so we might be making this a little bit, maybe something more regular. So if you're interested, like today we talked about productivity and trying to improve it. Again, this is very experimental, and so if you guys are interested in more self-help topics, I would ask that you come follow me over on twitch.tv/splicestream. And if we do one of those, I'm really looking for feedback on it. The other thing I'm up to is, and this is on purpose, this may just look like a white sheet of paper to the audience, but this is actually the Kolos Head Munching Day card. that is going to be going out. I'm not turning it around because that's spoilers.
To our
everyone.
patrons.
But
To some
I want
patrons.
you to know that this is the finest art that I can create with crayons, and you, the $5 and up patrons, it's we're working on it. It's on its way.
Those will be coming soon.
And you'll get a stamp of Rosie's footprint because I don't torture her every year.
Yeah, we tried that
right
one year, and she was not pleased.
There were some that were very smeared
Why are
because
you
she moved her
making me
foot
do
at
these
just the
weird
wrong
things?
time. She's a
She's a very good dog,
Blame-
and she's the best at getting the ball.
Yes, she is. All of the
Yes.
balls.
Oh.
All right, Amy, well, where can we find you outside of the SICS podcast?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. I have been terrible at putting anything up because I'm getting ready for Christmas. But I have my remaining dice up on my website that I listed, and so you can and I am going to be open to some commissions next year, because obviously I'm not going to do anything in December because Christmas and everything else. But if you can contact me through the website or through my social media, and I can put you on a list and figure out how that will work if you want me to try and make you something. But I've just been kind of doing stuff, and I plan to actually put up pictures of the cool things that I've been doing recently soon. And there's a really super cool thing that's going to be coming up on December 20th. I finally get to post about what I got for my Prop Tart Secret Santa. That's Punished Props Academy, if you at all know your cosplay stuff. So I got a really cool thing that I already know about that I'm not supposed to know about yet, but it's cool. So yes.
Awesome. And then I've got another podcast with my buddy Dylan. We talk about board games. It's called the Innkeepers Table, and the episodes are all bite-sized and targeted for anybody who wants to learn more about board games. The most recent episode is called I Enjoyed Trivial Pursuit. What should I try next? And then the next episode, we just talked in general about party games. I do have several board game reviews over on www.innkeeperstable.com, although I think the site may be down. I think I might need to renew the domain or something. So if it's not working, give it a little while. Hopefully it should be back up. And I do occasionally post about games on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Innkeepers Table or at Innkeepers Table Podcast. For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you cannot become patrons, we'd love it if you just let your friends know about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you want to toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would love that. Final thoughts on Dragonsteel MiniCon 2021.
I can't stop petting Doomslug. It's so soft. This is like what I've been doing for like half the podcast.
I
is
actually
just petting
signed
it.
on to a Zoom meeting for work, and I was just like stroking Doomslug like a cartoon villain.
I know, it's great.
I mean, my voice was already rough anyway. I sounded like Dr. Claw. I may as well act like Dr. Claw.
I've done my Dr. Claw voice on here, haven't I?
Next time.
I normally have a good Dr. Claw impression. Right now, it ain't happening because
Because you are
my
Claw.
throat would.
It's not an impression right now.
But yeah,
No.
it was an amazing.
Yeah, my final thought is just to all of you who came by the booth and introduced yourselves, and to all of you who we met and you're starting to listen. There's one or two people who have really decided to start to listen and are somewhere in episode 1 or 2 or 7 right now, and I just want to say we get better, and nice to finally see you now that you've gotten here. Let us if you are that person, when you make that transition, you need to at us and let us know. We need to see how long it takes to get through our content.
Oh man.
Thanks. Seriously though, thanks so much for coming. That, in my opinion, was one of the best parts of
It was
MiniCon,
just
just
so
meeting
good to see
people,
everybody.
meeting our listeners.
Yeah. Well, it's just you don't know who all you're reaching. Like, our we love our Discord. Our Discord's awesome. And we know there's other listeners. It's nice to be able to put faces to them now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. Don't let your next stealth mission get ruined by unseemly bleach stains. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeepers Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies, and if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for the show, email them to cosmerestudies@gmail.com. This year's State of the Sanderson will be coming out on the 19th of this month, which means our next episode, coming out one day later, will be us geeking out and speculating on what it all means. I said coming out one day later, I mean recording one day later. So join us for the live recording on December 20th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/Innkeepers Table. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember,
There's
always
always
There's
another
always
secret.
another secret.